Hello everyone, my name is Xochitl Cruz and this is my reflection presentation. My reflection presentation is on a lovely lady aged 78 years old named Miss P. She lives south of San Diego. She has been living here her whole life. She has three biological children, seven grandchildren. She worked in the medical field for over 40 years. She accepted Christ in the year 1997 and is currently going through a season of reflection on her life and her accomplishments. My perspective on Miss P is that she appeared to be content and happy. She appeared to be at peace with her life and the accomplishments that she had been able to experience. She has gone through several issues, such as infidelity, rough childhood. Yet, the moment she became saved, all those situations seem to dissipate, and she is now happy and she is now dedicated to serving others in her church and her community. The description of the interview, again, the purpose is to interview Miss P. She has much wisdom. She has lived a life of 78 years old. She is currently dedicated to her community, to her family, her daughters, her grandchildren, and to her church. The major events of Miss P's life. She grew up in a two-parent home where her parents were unwed. She has seven siblings, so with her it would be eight. She did grow up with an authoritarian parental father style and an extremely permissive mother, or more than permissive, an abused mom by her dad. They were all abused and mistreated by him, and he was very authoritarian and very aggressive and abusive. So that left a lot of scars on her. It kind of pushed her to leave her house at a young age to have her first child out of wedlock. Um, by the time she had her second child, she was once again single. She encountered or met another person whom she started a relationship with and had her third child. Unfortunately, that relationship also ended in infidelity and her being left alone to raise three children. It took her years to get over that situation. She dabbled in alcohol and had an issue with food that she was able to overcome. After she was saved. Our book by Kathleen Berger speaks of integrity or despair. This is something that usually affects people in their late stages of life, and it basically is an acknowledgement or a realization of how one lived their life. And the way I see Miss P, I believe she lived a full life. I believe she did make some mistakes during her youth years, but she has found forgiveness, because one of the things that she believes is that in her family there are generational chains of abuse, of promiscuity, and when she gave her life to Christ, that was one of the things that she's been praying the most about, is breaking those chains within her family, in her daughters now as well. Again, the coping mechanisms that Miss P used was alcohol, and she also had an issue with food and excessive exercise. There was a time when she would drink, and then there was a time when she would eat and exercise and binge, and she had a little bit of an issue with her weight. But once again, once she found Christ and when she found forgiveness, she was able to get through those problems and focus on her family, her daughters. Once again, the one thing that did help Miss P and that she kept going back to was when she was saved in the year 1997, after years of calling out and wondering where her life was headed. She found Christ and the love of Christ. She was able to forgive her parents. She was able to forgive her past partners. She was able to live without the need of food and alcohol as a coping mechanism, as a tool, and she was able to find forgiveness. In my closing interviewer's perspective, I see a deep appreciation for life, family, and forgiveness in Miss P. She does realize that she's made a lot of choices that were not good for her life. She went through a lot of heartache, but now, after years of reflection, after years of knowing Christ, after years of serving others, she does realize that she is very blessed and she's very fortunate. And at this point, she is focused on moving forward, on living her life to the best of her ability, to helping those around her. And that is mostly what she does with her life. She is very committed to staying sober. She's very committed to helping her family, to breaking those chains of abuse that she believed exist in her family. I read a quote in a book and in a research article, I'm sorry, and one phrase that caught my attention. This article was on women and their place in society. And one phrase that caught my attention was, she is looking ahead, not backwards. And I shared this with Miss P, and she smiled and she said, I agree. So, once again, it was a pleasure to interview Miss P, and it was a pleasure doing this presentation. Thank you very much.